Sunil ji. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Radhe Radhe, everyone. Thank you, Sunil ji, Prakash ji, for such a wonderful session. And Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji, over to you.
Radhe Radhe, Pallavi ji. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful session, Prakash bhai and Sunil bhai. And a very warm welcome to all of you to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. So looking forward to another engaging session. So let's get started. It's 9 o'clock. So I'm going to share my screen. We are on chapter 4, verse 15. We will continue on that. And like we do, we will start with soul soup. We'll go to the main menu, which is philosophical discussion, and then of course followed by our devotional segment, which serves as a dessert for our session. So let me share my screen to get started. Let me know when you see it.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, so we'll do our opening prayers and get started. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening to all of you once again. So let's get started. The shloka that we are on is 4.15. I'll recite it and you can follow along. Evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvataram kritam. All right, let's take a few volunteers.
Radhe Radhe, Sandhya ji, please go ahead.
Sandhya.
Radhe Radhe. Evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvahe purvataram kritam.
Wonderful, very nice. Thank you, Sandhya. Okay.
Radhe Radhe, Shyam ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Shyam ji.
Radhe Radhe. Evam gyatva kritam karma purverapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmeva tasmatam purve purvataram kritam. Radhe Radhe.
Yes, thank you, Shyam ji.
Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Evam gnatva krutam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvai purvataram krutam.
Very nice, thank you.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshabhi guru karmeva tasmatvam purve putram kittamam. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, very nice, thank you. Sam ji.
Surya Prakash ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji. Evam jnatva krutam karma purvairapi mumukshubhi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvai purvataram krutam. Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji.
Radhe Radhe, thank you.
Ragi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Radhe Radhe. Evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi Kuru karmev tasmatam purva purutaram kritam.
Very
Sorry.
nice. Thank you, Ragiji. All right, we have two more hands. We can take them real quick.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Riya ji.
Evam jnatva kritam karma purvair api mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvai purvataram kritam.
Wonderful. Very nice, Riya ji. Last but not
Falguni ji,
Falguni ji.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe, yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Mhm.
Evam gnatva kritam karma purvai api mumukshubhihi kuru karmai tasmatvam purvai purvataram kritam. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Wonderful. Very nice. Thank you, Falguni ji. So let's get started. In this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying that knowing this truth, even seekers of liberation in ancient times performed actions. Therefore, following the footsteps of those ancient sages, you too should perform your duty. So today we will talk about this concept of the matter of duty, and then what happens when you become God realized, right? God is saying that seekers of liberation in ancient times performed actions, and then when you follow the footsteps, you should also perform your duty. So we've spoken about the concept that we need to follow the footsteps of sages and realized saints, in the sense that what they tell us from a teaching standpoint, and then that takes us closer to the goal of our life. And the question is, what happens when it takes us closer to the goal of life? So we'll continue on that discussion. So let's move forward and start off with our soul soup, the segment that we have introduced. So let's look at it. What are we going to talk about today on this? So it says that it takes half your life before you discover life is a do-it-yourself project. So it's a DIY project. Okay. Now I will build on this concept and talk about it. How is it a DIY project? And I will add to that definition. I will say DIY FY as well. Okay. So what is that? Let's talk about. So here is a construction worker, right? He's a pretty amazing construction worker. In fact, he's one of the good employees who is very resourceful, well networked. He just knows how to build good houses, good contractor, network that he has, where to procure good material from, how to engage a good architect and stuff like that. So he's a pretty good construction manager, right? Until he decides that I have done enough of it, and now I'm going to spend time with my family. Okay, and I'm going to retire, happily retire. And he goes to his boss and tells him that. And of course, he's one of his key employees. And he's taken aback that he's going to lose his employee now. But nevertheless, because he has been working with him for a couple of decades, I would imagine. So he said, you know what, can you do one last project for me, please? He said, no, I've moved on, kind of a deal, and not anymore. So I said, no, at least one more project for me. Okay, so his boss comes and actually requests him for that. So this guy said, all right, I'm going to undertake this assignment now. And he builds a house, okay, like he always does. You see this house he built. However, his heart is not there, right? He's kind of checked out in his heart, in his mind. So he cuts corners, he uses suboptimal labor, material and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, just check it off. One of the other things I need to strike off my list and move on in my life, right? So he definitely does not do his best work, and he cuts corners. Performance is also suboptimal, but he just wants to strike off that thing. And then he finally says, okay, I'm done with it, done and dusted with it. Goes back to his boss and says, I'm done. Now the boss said, all right, for he says thank you. He takes that, and then his boss basically says, all right, for all the hard work that you have done, this house is a gift from my side to you. Okay. So he basically hands over that house to him. He said, it's for you, for all the hard work or the service that you have rendered for so many years and the exceptional stuff that you have done. Now, only if this guy would have known that he was building his own house, you think he would have cut corners in that or done a suboptimal job at that? Of course not, right? So life is do it yourself for yourself project. Here in life, in human life as well, we cut corners, right? We are not interested in optimizing our time or really tapping into the true potential that God has endowed us, or to do things for ourselves that actually help us, right? We are happy in our comfort zones. We are happy leading a life, suboptimal, mediocre life, and do nothing about it, right? So it's actually a do-it-yourself project. One of all, you are making your destiny every moment. Secondly, not just now, but after life as well. So no matter what we do, actually, like we were talking about, right, everything has a consequence. End of the day, it's not a job, it's not a project we are doing for somebody else. It's a project we have undertaken for ourselves, and end of the day, we only have to live with it, right? Like this guy has to live with that house that was gifted to him. We only have to live with it. So we are not only carving our destiny, but also creating a destiny, for our future lives as well, based on the kind of choices that we are making and based on the kind of life we choose to lead. Okay. So that is the soul soup for the day. With that said, it's a do it yourself for yourself project, nobody else. So God is telling you, you are doing it for yourself. End of the day, I can help facilitate that process for you. I can send you my confidants, trustees in form of saints, but end of the day, you still have to do it yourself. Okay. No miracle is going to happen. No magic pill is going to be given to us like it happened in the movie Matrix, blue pill, red pill. You only have to do work on yourself. Okay. Guru can facilitate the process. It can take a horse to water, but cannot make it drink. So it is do it yourself project. And I hope you are able to, understand the depth of this whole thing, because every moment we are actually building a house for ourselves, and that we'll have to live with. Okay. So with that said, let's move on to the topic. So yesterday we spoke about the ladder becoming an impediment, right? So ladder is typically used to climb up. However, you change the direction of the ladder and we know what happens, right? It can become an impediment because there's only so far you can go, right? And we spoke about this concept. It can happen in various ways. There are different manifestations of it. Now, you may get attached to, you can use, things that we get better at in life. That could be a ladder. That is usually a ladder for us, where we are shaking off our lethargy, procrastination, all those things, and swinging into action and doing things with passion. So that is a ladder. And then while doing things with passion, we expand our bubble to not only do it for yourself, but to give it back to society or do it for a greater cause, noble cause. That is also a ladder, because now you are getting to broader, good and better things. But then what beyond? If you don't go beyond that, then it becomes an impediment, because then we get attached to sattva. And that can happen at different stages of our life. Sometimes we get intoxicated with with life itself. There are so many people who have this life intoxication, enjoying life somehow, and they get stuck at that level. Some people get stuck at happiness, or that sattvic happiness that they get by helping people, and get stuck at that stage. And some people get stuck at tamasic itself, where their only goal is to basically do things in ignorance, like intoxication and stuff like that. And we have so many cases we see in our life, right? Even the families, they are destroyed because of those habits, but then people, they stick to those habits till their last day, because they're not able to get out of it, right? So are you using a ladder, or your ladder, which is actually helping your journey, is becoming an impediment, is something we really have to be watchful for. And it can happen on this path as well, where we start becoming a sponge for knowledge, but then the pursuit of knowledge only becomes our goal. Implementing it and taking our journey to the next level does not. So we can fall for Shastra Vasana. We can even fall for Deha Vasana, where we are hung up on taking care of our health, but for what purpose? Right? End of the day, it's a machinery that is given to us, a rental, rental house, body, so that we can get closer to the goal of life. If that is not our focus and we are only hung up on taking care of this body, then again, it's kind of a impediment for you because you're missing out the big picture around it. Yes, Pallaviji, you had a question?
Yeah, Nitinji, Vishweshji has asked a question. Who is the best example for life intoxication, enjoying life?
People, I mean, at different stages of their life are, right? If you go to some of the stars, rock stars or film stars, they are in the nasha, this kind of intoxication of life. Wow, life is this and that. However, it does not last long, right? The life stares back at you ruthlessly. It's just a matter of time. But you would find people who are stuck. If you ask them, have you thought about the bigger purpose of life? They said, we are too happy in our life. The world is at our feet. We are enjoying it, and they will not listen to that, right? And that happens even in the youthful state of pretty much everybody. When we think the world is at our feet, you will not listen to anybody. Typically around 20-25, or somewhere around 18 to 25, that phase, for some people, it passes over quickly, where they start thinking, pondering about the deeper questions of life. For some, it can extend up to 35-40 also, and some refuse to grow up even at 60. Okay, they would keep thinking about good old times and meeting friends and stuff like that. But anyways, that nasha of life is also there, right? Getting intoxicated with life, now that has become an impediment, because you don't incentivize your intellect or mind to ponder upon the deeper questions of life, or to think how you want to lead your life, right? So this is what we were talking about yesterday. And there is Shastra Vasana, there is Deha Vasana, there is Loka Vasana also. Right? Every second person who's holding a remote in his hand and watching news, they think the entire responsibility of the country, and for that matter, world, is resting on their shoulders, right? Having an opinion, having some kind of attention. Oh my God, this is happening. This party is winning. World is going to, where the world is heading. All those kind of, these are called Loka Vasanas. So those also become impediments in our life, right? So whether we are taking a ladder, or we have made our ladder an impediment, or we are just dealing with impediments, it's very contextual, and each one of us has to, we can reflect on that to see that, we are not falling into that trap. With that said, now let's move on. Now, the sages who aspire for God, they are not motivated to work for material gain. We spoke about God himself, why he's not implicated in the law of karma, because he's selfless. He does not have any desire for any selfish interest. We people have it, and because of that, we do binding karma. And same thing for sages. They are not motivated for material gain, because they have achieved whatever is there to be achieved. They are also moved by compassion on seeing the sufferings of materially bound souls who are bereft of God consciousness, are inspired to work for their spiritual elevation. Now the question comes, what are the possibilities? Now Buddha had said, after attaining enlightenment, you have two options. Two options. That is what we're going to talk about. What are those two options? Right. One is either you do nothing. Okay, you have jumped over, gone to Golok, Moksha, Saket Lok, Shiv Lok, wherever you jumped over, done. Do nothing. Enjoy for the rest of eternity. You don't have to do anything. Who's asking you to do anything, right? Just enjoy your status now as a God-realized person. Do nothing. So it's like this. A person is climbing a wall. He looked at it. Wow. Jumps over. Other person looks at it and he said, okay, he jumped. He then comes back, and then he comes back to help others for enlightenment. So you have two options. Either you do nothing, enjoy that status of perpetual bliss, or you come back after attaining and help others. You know what? Come, let me tell you, there's something much more that we can achieve. So you can come back as a sage or as a profitable servant of God. Right? God will also likes to basically send out agents who can do his work. God would love to have us as his guest in his abode, right? But we are refusing it. It's like, okay, we don't care. Okay, we have better things to do here. But then he sends people from time to time, his own agents, so that they can tell us how to go there, what are the possibilities, and what is it that you should be really doing, as opposed to where you are stuck, right? So God keeps on sending. So we have that option as well after enlightenment. So let's go a little deeper into that. Yes, Sandeep, you had a question?
Please go ahead, Radhe Radhe, Sandhya ji.
Radhe Radhe, just wanted to clarify this. So, what about serving God in his abode? Which category will it fall in?
Yeah, we'll get into that too. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
just giving a macro picture right now. And then, of course, once you have jumped in, there are possibilities, right? And once you have jumped in and come back, so there are different flavors, permutation, combination. I will touch upon that stuff, okay? But the key thing is, once you have become God realized, you are beyond Maya. You enjoy perpetual bliss. Nothing, not obligated to come back to the material world, okay? So let's look at this concept a little deeper now. Beyond Maya, you can enjoy perpetual bliss, not obligated to come back, decides to come back to help others along the path. So basically, then they work, when they come back, then they work out of compassion. So let's say somebody has come back. Now they'll work out of compassion. And there are two kinds of compassion. Let's understand those as well. One is a material compassion, one is called a spiritual compassion. Now, all of us, we people who are noble, they do have that compassionate attitude towards others. But there is a difference, okay? That also could be a trap. Now, falling for, worldly compassion, how, why? Let's look at it. So, why it's stuck now? Yes. So the material compassion, if you look at it, material compassion is where you have emotional attachment to body and bodily relatives. We shed tears. Oh my God, what is happening to them? I wish this would have happened. This could have happened. And then it comes with a burden of pain, sorrow, grief, death. And this compassion is temporary. Okay. In the sense that it is not truly helping somebody, but you have to deal with pain, sorrow, grief, death, and all that stuff. Right, where there's a lot of emotional upheaval you will have to go with. And this is based on your understanding of, self as a body. So we take those bodily relatives and form those emotional attachments and look at it that way. And that is all called material compassion, where you start taking pity, right? That pity is also falls into this kind of a compassion. There's a subtle difference, and the spiritual is more at the level of the soul. So the saints, when they come, they are compassionate for the soul because they know the soul is being tormented by Maya endlessly since so many lifetimes, and it needs a push where it is stuck right now. So it is born out of a compassion for the soul because they understand the true nature of our being, right? Not at the bodily level. So, and then their efforts are directed towards uplifting the soul itself. And it is eternal. So in material compassion, when I said temporary or eternal, you may want to look at an example. So let's look at it. So for example, a child is crying and saying, I want food. Mother refuses, knowing the stomach is upset, but he insists and the mother gives in. Child gets very sick, so the problem is not solved. So it's temporary, basically. It may give you a symptomatic relief as well. For example, a relative of you might be coming to you and saying, you know what, I need money, this and that, and you start pitying that person. Oh my God, how bad situation he's in. You give them that, or give them, food to a beggar, they'll feel hungry again. They will again have that need. So this compassion is a symptomatic relief. It does not cure the real problem, right? However, when saints work on you, when they spread the message of God, or for that is more directed towards the eternal welfare of the soul. And then it helps you confront the frailties of your mind and overcome the deficiencies of your mind. So the sages, they work at that level where they are helping you come over your frailties, weaknesses, the secret stash, or that ladder impediment that you have formed in your life. They will confront that part. Okay. And then they hold that hand, and that hand is held across lifetimes until you complete the journey. So that association with the sage is not limited to one lifetime alone. It continues until you have finished that journey. Now, if you exercise your free will in a manner where you forcefully remove the hand, that is a different thing. But sages, they don't leave that because they are born out of compassion. They will not take things to their, ego and things like that, because their job is to genuinely help out the soul. And that the charity that sages and saints do is the highest level of charity. You give somebody food, they'll feel hungry again. You give somebody money, that need might arise again. But when you give somebody a push, somebody's soul a push, that is a perpetual asset that soul has gotten. There is no looking back, right? Krishna will preserve it for them. So what they do is the true charity, where you're actually uplifting the soul and taking it to the next level. Okay, so that is what sages do, who decide to come back. Okay. Now, what happens basically? How does this process work? What do you see on your screen? You've seen that when you make clarified butter, it makes a lot of noise. Right? It makes a lot of noise. And finally, we know that this becomes settled. After a while, it doesn't make any noise, right? We agree or not? I've not seen this entire process, but after a while, I think it settles down once this thing is done. But then it makes noise again. You've seen this making noise again? I hope you're feeling about aloo puris now. Now, why is it making noise? It is making noise because it has to cook the puris. Okay. Now, sages are like in the left-hand side, they are already siddh. When they become siddh, they become shant. Okay, they have already achieved whatever was there to be achieved. But when they come back, they make noise again. They're talking, they're engaging, they're doing the regular stuff like people do and all that stuff. At that moment, they are doing it to cook these puris, the flour which is there. And then after it is cooked, they become shant again. So that noise that they make again is not for their own sake. Okay, that noise is made for the sake of cooking people like us. Okay, so if you look at saints around, right, they are making that noise and they are carrying out themselves and doing all that stuff, holding, you look at Swamiji, Maharajji, what all they did, that is basically to cook people like us, not because they are obligated to make that noise. So, and once the puri is cooked means you become siddh. Siddh means you become perfect. Like chawal siddh ho gaye, like they say, that means the rice is cooked. Similarly, when the flour is cooked, it becomes puri, then it cannot become atta back again. But that is being done by the sages and saints. They do the same job as the soil is doing for the puri. Okay, and the noise is made for the welfare of the atta so that it can become puri, not for its own sake. So that is the whole idea. So they have quietened, they have achieved whatever was there to be achieved, but now they operate with the sole purpose of uplifting the souls and for their welfare. That is how it works. So hopefully this example will stuck with your mind, that how once the puri is made, that is siddh, and then there's no looking back after that, and the saints are actually doing all the activities to actually help you complete your journey and not anything for their own sake. So what does happen? Let's have a quick quiz, interactive discussion, and not quiz, rather an interactive discussion around this concept of God realization. Okay, what happens when? So I'm going to pose some questions and you can raise your hand and let's do it one at a time. Can you get back to material world again once you are God realized? Anybody who wants to take that question? Yes, Sandhya, go ahead.
I mean, for serving, for helping welfare of other souls, you might choose to come, but not get bound. I mean, you cannot get bound by Maya, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So once God realized, can you be under Maya again is the true question, basically. So that may be this follow-up question. Are you required to get back to material world again? Both questions can go hand in hand right here. Yes, Samji, you wanted to ask, say something, add to that.
You
Samji,
don't
please
have
go
to.
ahead.
You don't have to, because once you are done, you are done. But if God wants it, He can send you as a saint or something to guide the other people that way. So it is His wish. It's not that you are a kind of done deal at that time. That's what I think.
Very true. So there was a guy, beggar, who used to beg in New York metro station. Okay, and he used to beg in his tethered clothes every day, until one day somebody dropped a lottery ticket in his bowl and he hits a lottery, and then he becomes a billionaire. Okay, so now he's a billionaire, and then he was enjoying his billionaire status, and one day he saw his tethered clothes that he had hung, just as an old memory, just to become nostalgic. So he sees that in his closet, and it reminds him of the time. And now he said, okay, those were the times as well. So he wears those clothes again and sits and does exactly the same what he used to do, right? But what changed? Something changed, right? What changed within that? His consciousness had changed. Previously, he would beg with some kind of an anxiety, expectation for what's going to happen and all that. So now he's a billionaire. He would care less. Right? So that is exactly what happens. Once you become God realized, you are not obliged to come back, but you may choose to for the sake of serving God. Okay? God may tell you that, what, you go back, like Maharaj Ji used to say, if you listen to what I tell you and you implement that, then naak ragad ke hame वापस आना पड़ेगा. It's like God will send me forcefully to go back again because people listen to you. So when they come with the express purpose of helping the souls. And if the souls, they make it a priority and they change their lives, they get spiritual commission. And then saints have to come back again and again as a service to God. But when they come here, they are beyond Maya. They don't need to go through, even if you think that, okay, like Ramakrishna Paramhans, he had cancer and stuff like that. For a material mind, conditioned mind, oh my God, what is happening? They are beyond that. It doesn't matter. They are Vide. They may take on some old prarabdha which is already burnt and say, okay, God, we don't want to mess around with your rule just because we are not obligated. We'll still take on some prarabdha, okay, just so that we honor your law, that whoever comes here comes with a prarabdha. But they have nothing to do, basically. They are not at all concerned, bothered, or they are risen above Maya at that point. They are Vide. Even pain and pleasure, they have risen about that because they are tapping into divinity at that point. Okay, so this is how this process goes. So yes, they are not allowed to come back. Now, yes, Tarunji, you wanted to add something?
Please go ahead, Tarunji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. So what I was thinking is that in a way, ideally, if all realize, God realize people think to come here to help others, that would not be the best thing rather than living in the God or means that way there are so many of us.
They're true, but are we ready? See, they say that when the disciple is ready, the master will appear, right? So it is not possible that you are ready and the master will not appear. It will. And depending upon which category you are ready for, that kind of master you will, right? You will get. And then don't just limit yourself to this 7.5 billion alone. We have infinite Brahmands. So there are infinite sages and saints in every Brahmand who have kind of, helping people who are actually ready and making it a priority to get out of this matrix or this reformatory of God. Okay. This material creation is only 1/4 of this entire creation because it is a prison house of God for more of a reformatory for people who have turned their back towards God. And if prison is a smaller part of the city, right? It cannot be bigger than the city itself. So the actual creation is 3/4. We don't have access to it as yet, right? The actual creation is much more beautiful and vast. We are in 1/4 of the creation, and that 1/4 creation is also pretty vast, and there are enough sages and saints out there. Now, the message that you are ready for, that kind of saint and sage you will get. So yes, there will be infinite sages for sure. In fact, it is said there are infinite souls across this Brahmand who enter God's abode. I mean, infinite seems pretty huge, but if you think about this universe, it would still be a fraction of the number of souls out there. Yes, Jonji, you had a question. And then my next question was, are you in perpetual bliss which never goes away? Yes, Jonji, please go ahead. You wanted to add something?
Radhe Radhe, Jonji, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Radhe Radhe. Maybe you covered this, Nitinji, and I missed it. But how can we choose to come back is my question.
How can we choose to come back?
Once you're saying that we could choose to come back and serve, be of service to others once we have become God realized.
God's will at that time, if you look at it, when somebody becomes God realized, you are perfectly surrendered to God, right? So your will, God will, basically is both are aligned. So at end of the day, it's at the direction of God himself, right? He may choose you as an instrument to help people out, right? Or he may choose you to just continue with your seva and service and in his personal abode itself, or he may choose you to do something else. I'll touch upon some of those aspects as well. So when I say you choose, basically your free will at that point is completely aligned with God's will, right? So God may choose you as an instrument at that point. That's how it goes.
Okay, so it would be his choosing, but it might be something that it's of your will. You're wanting it, and God has chosen you.
Your will is perfectly aligned with God's will at that point. So
Okay, got it. Thank you.
yeah. The
Radhe,
reason I'm
Radhe.
touching upon this topic is because a lot of people, some participants, they reach out to me and think, am I God realized? So I want to explain the gravity of God realization. What are some of the things? And then you can, self-evaluate to see if that is happening or not. First of all, you should be beyond Maya, right? All the material afflictions, you are beyond that. Trigun, Trita, Panchaklosh, all that stuff, you are beyond that. So, and then, are you in perpetual bliss? This is a good yardstick. Are you in perpetual bliss which never goes away? Maybe I should add another question to that. And then, the kind of bliss that is ever fresh and ever increasing. If any one of you is experiencing that, then please do let me know. Okay, I need to know that formula as well. Yes, couple of hands. Jyoti ji, wanted to go?
Jyoti ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yes, Jyoti ji.
Radhe Radhe. I just thought I'll add something to Joanji's question. The answer just might be that the elevated souls that came during Krishna Avatar were from various lives, from various past avatars where they had interacted with Krishna in one way or another in the different forms. And if you look at the Gopikas, they were actually different groups that came, and they were the Rati Manjaris, they were they had interacted with Lord Ram in the previous lives. So these are the souls that decide to come back, even though they are achieved souls. And in some way, they want to interact with Bhagwanji and want to be in this Leela with him.
Right.
And that is an option as well.
True.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, that could be a seva God may bestow upon them, like when in Ram Avatar also, and even in Krishna Avatar, so many souls they accompany, right? Typically, God comes with his gang. Some of them are like Nitya Siddh, some of them could be Sadhan Siddh, and some of them could be on the threshold or the cusp of perfection, right? When Krishna Avatar or Ram Avatar happen, the souls that come, some of them are his eternal associates from Golok. Eternal associates from Golok who are Nitya Siddh. Nitya Siddh means they were always realized. They were never under Maya to begin with. Some of his associates could be Sadhan Siddh, who have realized God, right? And actually attained his abode. Some of them could be who have almost on the tipping point of perfection. Like, for example, a soul, if a soul has worshipped Lord Krishna as his son, right, in Vatsalya Bhav, or maybe in Madhurya Bhav, then that Yashoda Maiya seat or Gopi's role might be given to that soul as a dry run to perfect their devotion and then go to his eternal abode. So it could be a soul also, Jivatma also, which is almost on the verge of God realization, who may get a dry run or a simulation in one of his avatar calls. So all possibilities are there. But at the same time, sages, saints also come, and his abhushans and everything are not ordinary. Some of the sages, they do their seva in his avatar kal just by clinging on to his body, right? The Kastubmani, even his Murli, right? Hitvanch, right? I think he was the avatar of Murli, and the different kundals and stuff like that who make those divine sounds when he moves. Even the Pajeba of Radharani, they are all realized saints. Now we'll say what kind of a boring existence that is, right? Becoming a jewel and we can't imagine, right? These are beyond our imagination at that point. That is their seva, and they choose to do that, right? And we can't even imagine the kind of bliss they are getting by constantly being in touch with God's body. So they do that. Now the question is, are you in perpetual bliss? Is anybody thinking, no, it is not a perpetual bliss. You will get bored there as well, like we get bored here in this world. And this bliss is like, which is ever fresh and ever increasing. So yes, Sandhya, you wanted to add something? After becoming God realized, this is one of the symptoms. Okay, so if you think you have become God realized, that question is cropping up in your mind, then you should feel that perpetual bliss, which is not only increasing, but always fresh. Okay, that kind of realization feeling should come, which doesn't happen in this world. Yeah, go ahead, Sandhya. You wanted to add something?
Actually a question. So what if you feel someone you have or you have seen or interacted with is God realized based upon whatever features we have understood. And I think usually God realized people don't accept that they are God realized. Is that true?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they say these are the, if you ask Swamiji's question has been posed, he says these are the things that have to be guessed, not to be told, right? But unless we are God realized, we can't even make out somebody's God realized or not, right? And if a God realized saint will not say, you know what, Golok return, what you call that, Premras expert PhD, Golok return and Nitya Siddh or Sadhan Siddh, he will not put that degree in front of him, right? So that is very difficult to know. All we can do is work on ourselves and hope, we can make out who's God realized or not. But people, when they come, the sages, then they come, then there are certain lakshans, right? Ashta Sattvic Bhav and those kind of things that they exhibit from time to time, which is beyond their control as well, which can give us a good sense that these people, they are special. But we need to be at a certain level even to appreciate or understand that part.
In any case, if we are getting inspired, then seeking inspiration and learning is anyway not a problem, right? So
it's not a problem. Inspiration is always good as long as it's actually uplifting us and taking us closer to God.
Closer to God, yeah.
Very true. So that is the thumb rule, right? Anything that helps you take your mind to God and helps you develop your love and faith on Him, accept it. Anything that doesn't, reject it, kind of a thing. Okay, so this bliss is ever increasing. Are you situated in perfect knowledge, which cannot be overcome by ignorance ever? So these are some of the symptoms I'm telling you. People keep on asking, what is God realization? So then you are situated in perfect knowledge. You know everything about every subject, right? Material or spiritual at that point. That is another symptom of God realization. And that means once the light has come, darkness will never come again. You cannot go back to ignorance again. Okay, that is the key thing. Now, you can ask a Jnani who says, Aham Brahmasmi. If you are God, how can you become overcome by ignorance? That means after God realization, ignorance can again come back to you. What is the guarantee of that? So that means, or you say, no, I'm God, but ignorance has overcome me. That means ignorance is more powerful than you. That means that the very definition of God is negated. So that is very contradictory kind of a thing. So the key thing is, once you have become God realized, ignorance can never overcome you. Okay. You may choose to participate in God's leelas, right? By becoming ignorant or showing ignorant, or God is turning the key temporarily in you, like it happened in case of Arjun. Arjun is a Narnarayan avatar, right? Nara avatar. He was already realized saint, but God turned the key in his heart, planted that doubt temporarily, of course. Arjun could understand it in 3 hours and implement it as well. So he was already realized. But then you can never be overcome by ignorance after realizing God. You could choose to participate in his Leela as an ignorant person, or somebody who is doing things which you would normally associate with evil people, like Mother Kaikai did. She was also playing a Leela, by the way. She went to Saket Lok. Nobody has been named Kaikai since Kaikai came in Treta. Nobody names their daughter. Nobody can name their wife anyways. Mother, right? Nobody names Kaikai after that. But she went to God's abode. So that means, did she become ignorant? No. That is the part of Leela that she played. Right? And that was a big seva she did. She took on all that negativity just so that the beautiful Leela of Ram Leela could unfold in that particular avatar kal. But you can never become ignorant after you become God realized. That's a very key thing to understand. And do you have the same powers as God? This is a big one. Answer is, anybody knows? Do you have the same powers as God? Anybody wants to take that question? People are shaking their head like this. So I don't know. Yes or no? Yes, Andhya, you want to take that question?
Yeah, I guess except for this karmic logging, everything else.
So yeah, so God gives you basically everything. See, when you become God realized, God says, I was waiting for this moment so that as a father, I can share all my belongings, or take claim of your true inheritance. Take all that I have. Okay, that is how magnanimous God is. So he said, okay, all that I have, I'll give it to you now. Now you are a worthy son. Take everything and you become like God at that point. Okay, with an exception that I think the bookkeeping, the dirty work of noting down karmas and reading our thoughts, and he said, you don't have to bother about that. I'll continue that clerical job with myself, admin job with myself, right? Including creation. You can, I think creation also he probably keeps with himself. I can check it out. But other than that, you have all the power. You are basically, you are in perpetual bliss. You have the perfect knowledge, and you are, you get that opportunity for the rest of eternity. At that point, you have become a pudi now. You cannot become an atta back again. Okay, so God gives you all of his power. You become like God. There's no difference between you and God at that point, other than minor things, which God says already, I would not bother you. Let me just take care of that clerical job. Yes, Shyamji, you had raised your hand. And then, do
Shyam,
you participate in God's pastimes? We'll come back to, yes, Shyamji, go ahead.
please go ahead, Samji.
Radhe, Radhe. See, once we are God realized, do we actually need those powers? Because once we are there, we are there. We don't need anything else besides him. Isn't
True.
it?
God, that is why God gives you when he has complete trust in you, right? He's not going to give it to a person who's going to do the world, show magic and trick and impress everybody and just misuse it. So of course he knows that. So saints, when they come here, the true saints, they don't show any chamatkars. They may, sometimes those things do manifest, in situations where it may be needed for a particular soul or helping that soul's spiritual journey. They don't manifest any chamatkars as such, even though they have the ability to do that. They can pretty much do anything, right? But they don't do that. So yes, at that point, you have all the powers, but you also know how to control them and know how to live with them and not use them unless it is needed, of course.
Thank you so much. Radhe, Radhe.
Radhe, Radhe. Do you get to participate in God's pastimes? Of course you do. So if you have, depending upon the kind of God realization you have done, because God realization can happen in multiple levels, right? That could be a topic in itself that we have done, right? And if you have done God realization in his Saguna Sakar form, whoever your Ishtadev is, then you are his eternal consort, what I'm saying, eternal associate, right? Parikar, you become his Parikar, God's Parikar in Saket Lok, Shiv Lok, Devi Lok, or Golok. And then you are his eternal associate. You enjoy, do his pastimes. There are tons of pastimes. I don't know what kind of games are there. We have IPL here, which generates so much of excitement. I'm sure there'll be much more exciting games there as well, right? Then you are basically, you just enjoy, be an eternal associate. You choose to come down with him as part of his gang at God's direction, of course, or you stay there, or you come as a sage. Basically, you are beyond Maya. Bottom line is, you are no longer under the obligation, or Maya can no longer torment you in any way, and you are beyond, you have become Mala Mal, you have become billionaire. Now you have only thing to do is to enjoy, serve God, and basically you have attained your potential as a soul. And then it just keeps on increasing in the material world. You may get bored and say, okay, now I always wanted to have a mansion or a penthouse, and now what do? I get bored with it. I need something different. That is not the kind of a realization. It says it is ever fresh and ever increasing. Okay. And I mean, these are all theoretical things for now, but this is how it's meant to be. So God realization is a pretty deep concept. God realization means you have attained whatever is there to be attained. Okay, there's nothing more to attain after that. Okay, it can only get better after that, because there is no limit when it comes to giving you, there's infinite treasure of pleasure available at once we complete that journey. But when you can only speculate at this point, right? But this is how it's meant to be. You have become like God, and bottom line is that. And we are beyond all these afflictions that we have to deal with right now in the material world. So this is how it goes. By the way, the quiz is tomorrow, so please wear your thinking hats and start preparing for it. Now going forward, we'll have quiz on Thursdays, the Seva announcements on Sundays, and quiz on Thursdays. And last Thursday, we'll have a picture. We'll make it a routine going forward. So please prepare for the quiz tomorrow, Kahoot time. Don't get nervous. You can spare your nails, but prepare hard, okay? Because it's going to get really competitive like it always does. Okay, let's take a couple of questions.
Yes. Manjuji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yes, Manjuji.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji. I just wanted to ask, after God realization, and we have two options like coming back to material world or participating in God's pastimes. So can we give the option to God himself, like what he wants to choose us to do? Or
yeah, it's God's wish only. End of the day, it's not like we are acting independently. It's God's wish because we become his instrument at that point, right? So it's God's wish. When we say come back to the material world, that is temporarily. You already belong to God's abode now. Okay. You don't have to work your way towards it anymore. So you come there temporarily, again go back.
Thank
and
you.
God only, it's like now you are an employee of God, right? So he may choose you as a profitable servant to get some job done, or send you from time to time to help out the souls who are still struggling with the material world in their conditioned state.
Thank you, Nitinji. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe.
Monica ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, everybody. Nitinji, so when God takes avatar in this material world, his body is not material, right?
His body is not material. No.
How about his parikars?
The parikas, see, when they come here, they basically, that's a good question, technical question. Now the parikars, they come with a Panchamahabhut body or a divine body, right? That's what your question is, right? For God,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it is divine.
Mhm.
For parikars, they may choose to, because they come with the prarabdha, right? They may choose the body of a Panchamahabhut only, but I can clarify that question. It's a good technical question that you asked, right? Because a lot of parikars, when they depart from this world, they go through the regular ceremonies, right? And in some cases, some of the parikars, they have their body was not recovered, like in case of Mirabai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, only flowers, or they merged into the deities. Now, their body is divine, or does it appear material? I think it's a good question. I can ask that. Do they come with an upgraded body, or do they come with the regular body that we get? I can get that clarified. Good question.
Okay. Radhe Radhe.
Prabhat ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, I just want to say one thing. Like, it's like earlier to God realization, it's like we have a God will plus free will. But once we become God realized, then it's only God's will.
So free will, basically at that point, your will is completely aligned to God's will, right? So you become an instrument of God at that point. So I don't know what that state would look like. Like Arjun was completely surrendered to Krishna when he was fighting the war, right? So at that moment, your will and God's will essentially becomes the same, united will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question in chat, Nitinji. Yogesh ji has asked, is seeking bodily happiness using spirituality wrong?
So basically what you are saying is my goal is world and God is a means for that, right?
Yeah.
So whether it is right or wrong, you only think about it. It is only because of that we are repeating here. Because we have not made God our priority. We want world, and whatever we want, God, like an indulgent father, keeps on giving us that. The only problem there is that you will keep on accruing material karma, that bondage, and you cannot, nobody can guarantee your human body lifetime after lifetime, and you will be subjected to adi devik, adi bhautik, adhyatmik tornadoes. Your mind will trouble you, snake, car can come on a road and hit somebody, right? And then you have to deal with kaf vat, with these diseases, old age, misery, life, death, all that stuff you'll have to deal with. So if you think that is a good thing to do, then we can continue to do that. If we think, no, we need to have a game plan to get out of this matrix, then we have to start making God a priority. So you take a call for it, what is good and what is bad. Scriptures tell us, for soul, realizing God is a good thing, right? And I would agree, I think most of us would agree. But if you think the world is good enough place, it's okay to deal with all this, fine, I will take my chances. And God says, be my guest. That's essentially what we are doing. Maharaj used to say, we have been gambling on this world for so many lifetimes. And we can play satta or gamble on God for a change. The world is not running away anywhere. So why don't we play satta on God to see whether I get a better bliss or better happiness than what I have gotten from this world by catering to my body and bodily associates alone. So let's take a gamble. Let's play a satta and see what happens. Essentially what the message is. But yeah, we decide for ourselves. And right now we have decided there is happiness in the world. And that is why we are repeating here and accruing binding karma here.
Thank you, Nitinji. Very well explained. Shilpa ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe Nitinji sir. Can you please repeat the name of Kanhaji's Basuri saint?
Hit one, what was Harivansh or Hit Harivansh, I believe. Hit Harivansh, there was a saint who is known of his Bansuri avatar.
Okay.
Known as his Bansuri. Yeah. So they are all sages and saints who come from time to time. So
okay, thank you. I was curious about it. This was the first time I learned about it. So
Harivansh, I believe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jyoti ji, Radhe Radhe. Thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. This is such a fascinating topic, and forgive me for keeping on participating, Nitinji.
Oh no, well, pleasure to hear you, Jyoti. Please go ahead.
One exception that I could think of from what you said, you gave two categories. People either choose to come or they choose to remain with Bhagwanji, right? And they choose to come to help the remaining souls and help us over the fence. But there is also the category where the devotees come back to associate with other devotees for their own happiness as well. If you think of Uddhavji, he actually came back, and he's a blade of grass in Vrindavan in order to associate and collect the dust of the feet of the gopis. And in fact, in Vrindavan, there is this place called Ramanreti where the sand is so soft that the devotees go there and roll in it and play holy with the sand and all. But you're not allowed to bring the sand back with you, because those are the sages that have taken the avatar and come back into this material world in order to remain in the dham where Bhagwanji did all his leelas. So Nam, Roop, Leela, Gun is all good, but dham is very, very super critical as well for the devotee, and sometimes they want to come back and just remain in the place where Bhagwanji did his leelas. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful point, very nice. I mean, how can we imagine somebody choosing to become a blade of grass in Golok Dham? Blade of grass, right? We can't imagine. You say what kind of existence that would be. And Brahmaji, who has done this entire creation, he's also saying, I would be more than willing to gather the foot dust of those gopis, devotees of God. So we can't understand these concepts, but because we are so conditioned to seeking bliss for ourselves right now in this material world, so if you think it from that consciousness, it will be like, what kind of a boring existence that is. But big sages, they are saying, okay, we want to become a blade of grass in Braj, and that is their aspiration. So we can't even imagine the kind of bliss one would get becoming a blade of grass there, right? And not having the parties and potlucks here. So it's a very difficult kind of a concept to understand, but hopefully as we progress in spirituality and love for God, these will start clicking and making sense. But right now we just have to rely on scriptures and put faith in that. Okay, there is something bigger, better that we probably have to grow up to. Yes, Kumarji.
Radhe Radhe. Kumarji, please go ahead.
Jai Shri Ram, everyone. So, when we talk about, being blade of grass, I was thinking in my childhood, my ambition was to become a train engine driver. And that seemed to be very fascinating. I love trains. And this person drives the trains, right? Luckily, I didn't choose it, or they would not have selected me anyways, because I love my sleep. But anyways, I just wanted to say that. Now, people are asking about what happened when you get God realization, right? When you go there, God welcomes you, and then he has a volunteer sheet there. Option number 1. The question is, do you volunteer to go back, right? Option 1 is yes, absolutely, right? Number 2, yes, but after some time though. Third is no way, Jose. Okay, so you can choose one of that and then come back if you want to. So anyways, that was a joke. Of course, you guys know that. I wanted to say some quick something. I'll try to tell you. this is what initially I had said. There's a small story I want to narrate. There was a Ramayana Upanyas Samrat, okay, in the south of India, and very famous guy. Whenever he comes, thousands used to gather to hear his Upanyas. Beautiful way he did Ramayana, and he was a very big exponent of Sundarkand, right? Sundarkand, of course, the jewel of Ramayana. We all know that. So when he comes, he kind of gets the place ready, right? So he goes, garlands Rama and Sita. Then he puts an asan for Hanuman, because Hanuman has to be there, right? When there is a Upanyas going on. And there's a rich guy who has kind of financed the whole thing. So he comes and he's so upset, like, what is this guy doing? He's not starting it. And then he calls that guy and says, you know what? I don't have much time. Tell me Ramayana in a very short while. And he says, well, Rama was born and he killed Ravana. And that's the end of the story. I'm like, where is Sita in this? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Rama was born. He married Sita and then he killed Ravana. He says, what? That's it? But you had a seat for Hanumanji. Oh, I forgot. Rama was born. He married Sita and he met Hanuman. And then he killed Ravana. So every story has to have a lesson, right? So what happens is this bhakti ras needs to be absorbed bit by bit. It's not like a fast express train. You just have to imbibe that slowly. So, when we do bhakti, let's kind of, go deep, in depth in it and get the rasa. And of course, who else but Rama as well as Hanuman, right? If we have that in our mind, our bhakti just goes leaps and bounds. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. Thank you, Kumarji. Maybe you can do TED Talks. TED stands for Train Engine Driver, right? I'm glad you didn't become that. Otherwise, you could have started your brand of TED Talks there as well. But thank you so much.
That's a good one.
Yes. Thank you so much. Rupaji, you wanted to ask something as well?
Radhe Radhe, Rupaji, please go ahead.
Yes. So, Radhe Radhe, everyone. Actually, are you able to hear?
Yes.
Are you able to hear me? I'm in the school already, actually. I just wanted to ask one question to Nitinji, that I don't know, these few days that is coming on mind, when Krishna and Vishnu are the supreme God, why those temples are not seen everywhere, as like how we have for every street we have so many temples, but why don't we have Krishna temple and Vishnu temple?
Why don't we have Krishna temple and Vishnu temple? I mean, we do have. Right?
Yes.
Sorry, somebody can
I think
help
why Brahmaji doesn't have. That's what the question was.
Yeah.
I think there's a story in us where Brahmaji, there's a Shivling story of Lord Shiv, right? Where they were swinging at the Shivling, and it is said that Vishnuji and all basically said, okay, where is the end of the Shivling? And I think Brahmaji goes and says, okay, I found the end. While you cannot find the end, it was like it goes on forever. And I think Brahmaji got cursed that you will not have a temple anywhere. Okay, there's some kind of a story around that. In fact, there's only one temple of Brahmaji in the entire world, which is in Rajasthan, Pushkar. Okay, so if somebody in Rajasthan, you might be knowing that. But then Brahmaji is not worshipped. And by the way, Brahmaji could be God's avatar, or it could be a Jivatma. Rupaji, you can also become Brahma. Okay, by the way. It could be a Jivatma, taking that seat. Like Indra's seat, Brahma's seat you can take as well. Of course, it will take a lot of spiritual merit to get to that position. But it is usually a Jivatma. And only when God does not find a suitable Jivatma for that role, right? Somebody may not have a suitable, then, like in Indian Army, they will leave the seats vacant, but they'll only get the qualified people. So in those cases, then God himself takes on the form of a Brahma. But Brahma is not worshipped. Okay, maybe because of that curse. So we don't have to read too much into that.
Yeah.
How about Krishna and Vishnu?
Vishnu temples are there. Krishna's temples are there all over the world, right?
But not like, see, now we have so many temples like Shiva temples and Hanumanji's, Ganesh, Lakshmi, every avatar of Mata, everywhere, like in every street we have, at least if you count, it is enormous. But why Krishna temple will be only in ISKCON, we see Krishna. Everywhere ISKCON
Well,
temples
it's
are
temple,
there.
right? You have Radha Krishna temple so many places. I don't know why you have not found it. At least
But
I
in
have.
South, we don't see this Radha Krishna temples and also Vishnu temple. Very rarely. Very rare. If it is there, means it's like a visiting spot for everyone.
Okay, you can ask God, okay, if you don't see it, why is it? It's okay, but I don't have a good answer for that. But I think I've
No,
seen
because I don't know. In one discussion, when me and my husband were having, like we were hearing to the bhajans of Krishna or something, then suddenly we both got, why these temples are not there? Then I said, Nitin is the only person where I can just give this question. I cannot ask
I don't know. I mean, I
anyone.
have seen temples. I don't know why you're saying that. There are tons of. You go to Vrindavan, every second temple is Krishna's temple. That
That's what I
city is
said.
Krishna.
Outside we don't see. Outside we don't see any other than ISKCON temple. I've never seen any Vishnu
No, I
temple.
think that's not a correct under. You go to Vrindavan, there are temples other than ISKCON temple, Krishna temples, Banke Bihari temple.
Vrindavan it will be there many things. In Vrindavan we can expect, but why not in all the places? Especially with South India side, we don't see.
See, you
So
have to understand all this stuff. See, what is Jagannath temple? That is also Krishna temple. You know that.
okay,
Jagannath is a form of Krishna. If you
yeah.
go back, so there are so many forms of Krishna. It may not be a directly Krishna temple, but they are Krishna temple only. So
Yeah.
you just have to
Even Balaji is also Vishnu. Yeah.
Yeah,
Balaji is
Balaji is there.
Lord Vishnu. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you
Balaji
and your
is
husband can
completely
do
one.
research and submit the findings to us, or maybe that's another incentive for you to go to Krishna and ask him what's going on here, okay, with the temples. Let's move on. Annapurna ji, you had a question as well, and then we move to our devotional segment. I wanted to make a quick announcement.
Yeah. Thank you.
I
Thank you,
was
Rupaji.
listening to conversation why we don't have, I think, I have never come across a temple in name of Vishnu temple. Vishnu, the meaning of Vishnu is enter, it is Vishnu is like, Lakshmi Narasimha, Padmanabha, Balaji, everything is, Vishnu is the general one, and then there is division, that's the way I have understood, Then that's why you never come across Vishnu temple. Even for Balaji, we say Vishnu temple because we are comparing with Shiva, and there, if it is not Shiva, Shaivites, we say Vaishnavites, we say Vishnu. That's the way I think. But there is no Vishnu temple like Vishnu, like that. Or Satyanarayana could be Vishnu, because it is Shanku Chakra, Gada, Padma, everything is there, Vishnu, when Venkateshwara, eyes and everything is closed, but Vishnu is just like Satyanarayana. That's what I was thinking, Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this entire world is God's temple. Okay, we don't have to get hung up in which temple for which God. If you truly think about it, this entire world is God's temple, and so is our body, and so is our body. Okay, so people say that one should not do bad things in temple, or nobody would go and drink in temple, right? But what about our body? God is residing within, right? He's the source of our energy. So if everything is God's creation, so anything can be treated as a temple. Now, in the era that we are in, if we don't have enough temple in some other era or in some other Brahmand, we have more, that is a moot point. I would focus on things that help our devotion and take our mind closer to God, and reject other doubts, because doubts are doubts, right? They'll keep coming, cropping up here and there. But yeah, let's move on. So couple of announcements.
Nitinji, if we can take one quick question from the chat.
Please fill out the feedback tracker in the meantime, and let's take the question. And then we have a retreat coming up. I don't want to miss out, and a Janmashtami celebration as well. September 3rd, we're going to have an awesome time. People are traveling from within US and from India. I don't know, Shyamji, you have to tell me that whenever that happens. But please come over September 3rd to 5th. We're going to have an awesome time. It's going to be an immersive retreat, and I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, it's not too far away. And Janmashtami celebrations, of course. Let's take the question that you had, Pallaviji, before we move to our devotional.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Nitinji. The question is it possible for us to become God's favorite devotee, even more than his most and greatest devotee like Nandi?
No, somebody has to give me $1 million for guessing who asked this question. Okay.
It's anonymous.
Most favorite devotee, and somebody has told that you have to go past Nandi first. Okay, I don't know who somebody that is. Okay, I think God's devotee, if in order for us to become his favorite devotee, we have to do the things that God tells us to do, right? When we do that, we automatically become his favorite. And if you look at Bhagavad Gita, God is saying that Bhakt is very priya to me. Very priya means very favorite to me. And nothing pleases to God more than a Bhakt, shedding tears for God. And that if you are already able to do that. Now, if Nandi's seat is reserved, like Radharani's seat is reserved for Krishna, I'll have to do a bit of a research around that. Okay. But even if it is reserved, we can still get pretty close to God. And that itself is a big accomplishment to have a God who's a Jagadish. You are getting close to him. That itself is so aspirational, right? And sure so it is not like a competition we have in this material world. It's like when you are close to God, he will make sure you get his complete attention and whatever he has to give you, right? So wouldn't matter if we are Nandi or not, but is that seat reserved for Nandi alone is something I'll have to check. Okay. If somebody has told you, okay, I would challenge them and say, how do you know that? But yeah, you can become God's favorite devotee. In fact, that sentiment itself will take you close to God, right? God is silently smiling on hearing that aspiration from you. So you focus on your work, it will happen automatically. Bhole Shankar is anyway very easiest to please, right? And that is why he keeps on giving boons to people around. And then Vishnuji has to come and do the cleanup job. So it's very easy to please him. And he likes Bhola people. So best wishes in that sense. But yeah, Nandi thing I'll have to research a little bit. But that was a very cute question. Yes, anything else, Pallaviji?
Yeah, there are some other questions. So we will, because of time constraint, we won't be able to take that. But I'm keeping a screenshot of that I can share. And I would request all of you to put all your questions in the feedback tracker so that it can be taken. Nitinji will take a look at those questions.
I'll try to bring
And
the
we'll get
back to the session.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
And
this tomorrow feedback tracker. Yes, sorry, Pallaviji, finish your thought.
Yeah, thank you, Nitinji. So I just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow is Kahoot Games. So do not forget about that. I'm also looking forward to that, to the game. And I'm going to put all the announcement links in the chat window. Please take a look at all the links.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
That's it from my side. Yeah.
Thank you, Pallaviji. All right. So do we have any participants for the devotional segment today who are going to raise their hand, narrate a kavita or a bhajan? Yes, Shilpa.
Yes, we have Shilpa ji.
And yes, so Kahoot, thank you for reminding that. Tomorrow we have Kahoot, and we already have participants who have gotten gripped with Kahoot Kabhoot. So came on tomorrow. Yes, Shilpa ji, go ahead, please. Radhe Radhe, Shilpa ji.
Radhe Radhe, Shilpa ji.
Radhe Radhe. We were talking about all of the blade of grass. And so there's a favorite bhajan of mine. It's not by Maharaji, it's a non-Maharaji bhajan. And it's really nice, and I just can't wait to share it with everyone. I'm sure everyone probably has heard of it, but if you allow me, I'll just sing a few lines, if that's okay.
It's our privilege to allow you. Let me put it
Okay.
Go ahead,
Thank you. Thank you so much. The lyricist is Sri Ravindra Jainji, and the singer is also Sri Ravindra Jainji. He's one of my favorites as well. The name of the bhajan is Bake Bihari Ki Basuri. And the whole thought of this bhajan is how Kanhaji's basuri felt it was made out of bamboo. So how prideful the Basuri felt because it was always so close to Ganhaji. And so whenever I hear this bhajan, it's almost, I know we shouldn't feel jealous, but it's that feeling that you get of something inanimate being so close to Kanhaji. You know, it's that blade of grass that we just discussed. So I think this would be very appropriate. So thank you. बांके बिहारी की बांसुरी बाकी बेसु तो करे जा में घाव करेगी मोहन तान हो लगाओ तो और न पे अगाओ करेगी गैर गली घर घाट पे घेरे कहाँ लगी काओ बचाओ करेगी जादू पड़ी रस भीनी छड़ी मन पे तत्काल प्रभाव करेगी मोहन नाम सो मोहन जानत दासी बना के ये देत उदासी छोड़ चली धन घाम सखी सब बाबुल मैया की पान पनासी एक दिना की जो होए तो झेले सखा सब बास ये बासुर बारामासी सोने की होती जो गति होती भई गले पासी ये पास की बासी सोने की होती तो क्या गति होती भई गले पास ये पास की बासी कानन कानन बाज रही और कानन कानन दे सुनाई कानन मानत पीर न जानत काकर कान करी अब माई कानन कानन बाज रही और कानन कानन दे सुनाई हरिया धरा मृत पान करे अभिमान करे देखो बास ये जाई प्राण सब पे धरे अधारन हरि जब अधारन धारन धरे प्राण सबे पर धरे अधारन हरिया जबे अधारन धरे घोर भय नवनीत के ले अरु प्रीत के ले बदनाम भयोरी राधिका रानी के दूधिया रंग में रंग मिलायो तो श्याम भयोरी राधिका रानी के दूधिया रंग में रंग मिलायो तो श्याम भयोरी काम कल निधि कृष्ण की कांति के कारण काम अकाम भयोरी प्रथमा बनकर बनवारी कले राजखंड सख ब्रज धाम भयोरी प्रथमा कर बनवारी कले राजखंड सब ब्रज धाम भयोरी बाके बिहारी की बांसुरी बाके पे सुंधो करे जा में घाओ करेरी मोहन तान है मोहन लगाओ औरत न अलगाओ करेरी बाके बिहारी की बांसुरी बाके पे सुंदो करे जा में घाओ करेरी Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa ji. And Bay Area team, please take note. You have a rising star there. So very nicely sung. I think this is from serial Krishna, right? I think I've heard this.
Serial Ramayan, I think.
I don't know.
I think so.
Serial Krishna or Ramayana, I've heard this one, but very beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely sung. Thank you so much, Shilpa ji.
Thank you.
Seems like this one is very close to your heart. So thank you.
Yeah, I love how a Basuri was so close to Krishna, and thank you for telling me the name of the saint. I'm going to read more on it.
You can read more about it. Hit Harivanshi. Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Loved it. Thank you. All right, 3 more hands. So let's go real quick. We have a little bit more time. Pallavi ji, you okay with that?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Monica ji, please.
Yes, Monica ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. So this is by Chitri Lekha ji. मनमोहनी श्याम तोहरी छवि, नैनों से ओझल न होना कभी। देखो भला क्या मैं तोहरे सिवा, है रंग तुझ में जगत के सभी। माधव मुरारी मोहनम, सब नाम तोहरे सुंदरम। अच्युतम केशवम, अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम, राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। बांध के अपनी बंसी से रख लो मोहे, तोरी छैया कन्हैया मिले हर जन्म। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम, राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। राधे राधे.
Beautiful, very nice. This was, I think Bansuri is the theme of the day today. It was, yeah, this is the first time I heard it. This is very nice. Loved it. Bansuri is the theme for today. Beautiful, Monikaji. Loved it. All right. Kavita, what are you going to recite for us today? And then Sheetalji, hold off. Thank you, Monikaji.
Yeah. Thank you, Monica ji. Radhe Radhe, Kavita ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. So it's a very short bhajan from Krishna Kathaएं. It's a bhajan, not kavita. रूप है अनेक भले जन्म अनेक मेरे, मुझसे मिलने को अंतरिक्षी से मिलाए रे। जो जैसा भाव लिए भजता है पार्थ मुझे, बदले में वही भाव मुझसे भी पाए रे। पूजा आराधना करे जो जिस रूप में, मेरा दर्शन उसी रूप में पाए रे। नदियों का नीर जैसे सिंधु में समाए, वैसे मेरा भक्त अंततः मुझी में समाए रे।
Very nice.
Wow.
Short and
Beautiful.
very deep. Loved it. And I'm looking forward to your poem that you're composing right now, okay? Which is for the entire world right now. Look forward to that. You're not supposed to tell it to anyone, okay? We'll just look at the performance. All right. Thank you so much, Kavita. All right. Sheetalji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Sheetal. Radhe Radhe, Sheetalji, please go ahead.
Sheetalji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, please go ahead. It's a poem. कान्हा 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 रटते रटते मैं कान्हा हो जाऊं, वृंदावन सा पुष्प बनूं मैं, प्रेम की माला में गुथ जाऊं। ऐसी महकू कि मैं तो मधुबन बन जाऊं। कान्हा कान्हा रटते रटते मैं कान्हा हो जाऊं। मान करूं न अभिमान करूं, तेरे चरणों की रज बन जाऊं। ऐसा बन जाए ये जीवन, तुम बन जाओ मधुर हृदय, और मैं उसकी धड़कन बन जाऊं। कान्हा कान्हा रटते रटते मैं कान्हा हो जाऊं। मोर मुकुट पर वारी जाऊं, मुरली की धुन पर नाचू गाऊं। नैनन नीर निधि में डूबूं, ऐसी डूबूं की तर जाऊं। कान्हा कान्हा रटते रटते मैं कान्हा हो जाऊं। कान्हा कान्हा रटते रटते मैं कान्हा हो जाऊं। राधे राधे, धन्यवाद.
Very nice, Sheetalji. Very energetic performance. Loved it. All right. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you, everybody, for your enthusiastic participation, like always. And tomorrow we will have our Kahoot game. And I'm looking forward to that. You know, we're going to have a lot of excitement and learn in a fun, interactive way. Galaxy Ji, you had some question?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Galaxy Ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Just wanted to sing a song, that's why I did this.
What's your good name? Sorry, what's your name?
I think.
Unable to unmute.
Okay.
I was unmute. Akshata Sharma.
Akshata. Yes, Akshata. Please, are you a student or how long you've been joining us from?
I think somehow she's getting muted. Okay. Please go ahead. Yeah. Akshata Ji, please go ahead.
Go ahead, Akshata. I think there's some problem with your audio, Akshata. It's getting muted again and again. So you may want to fix your audio, but please fill in the feedback tracker and then, yes, go ahead. Can you hear it? Hear us now? Put in the feedback tracker. You may want to work on your audio and then tomorrow you get an opportunity to sing. I would love to hear. I think you have some problem going on with your audio. So great. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day and great rest of your night. And let's meet at Kahoot tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you, Nitin Ji, for another awesome session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Good day.
Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Stay blessed.
Bye.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.